Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So busy day for me, and hopefully you enjoyed today's video. It's gonna be full of things that are happening. We've been blessed with a little bit of a nice weather today, and it's meant to be raining tomorrow, and I have tons of things to do in the garden, but a lot of it involves actually harvesting some produce and processing that. So at the moment I have a lot of tomatoes in my greenhouse. We've been eating them, but not really been eating them fast enough. So I will be harvesting them off, and I will be collecting some seeds. So I'm going to be sharing with you how to actually how to properly deal with the tomato seeds and keep them for your planting for next year. And I'll show you my best recipe for a tomato pasta sauce. It's not something I'll be canning. I'll normally freeze them in the little like freezer bags, but that's fine. Again, I'm going to share this with you. I've got a couple of courgettes that I have harvested the other day, and I've got a couple currently growing. I will be making some courgette powder so I can share with you, because some of you are not aware you can actually make the courgettes into the powder, and that actually works out really well and really tasty. I've got some green beans that just need to come in. I don't think it's a huge amount of them, so it's not worth canning them. I will be just blanching them and freezing them. I've got some fennel that unfortunately has gone to seed, although if you followed my gardening once, it was doing really well, and then the heat came and it suddenly kind of bolted up, so I'll have to harvest that now. And in terms of, and just actually harvest the fennel tops, we can dehydrate them for a prepper's pantry. So the whole video is pretty much today, it's topping up the prepper's pantry and prepper's freezer really. So that's that. So hopefully you can join me on my little adventure. So not really call it adventure, what I'm talking about, on my little journey of busyness for today. So I think first things first, guys, let's go and get some tomatoes. So guys, this is my tomatoes. You can see they're starting to go yellow, and they have collapsed because I didn't give them enough support. But as you can see, we do have loads of lovely tomatoes here, and to be fair, if I leave them here any longer, because it is really hot again, they'll start splitting. I've got a couple here on this side as well, and unfortunately I can see there's a blight happening on this one, so it's kind of a good timing. Few ones here, and I've got a really nice only beef one that is survived, so I'm gonna get those harvested and I'll show you how many I have. So guys, they are lovely tomatoes. Look, I'm super happy. 2.1 kilos, that's including the ball weighs probably about a couple hundred grams, so we're just short of 2 kilos, which is not too bad. It is literally the end of the harvest now, apart from one or two that's still to go. Unfortunately, I only seems to have one plant of the big tomatoes that survived, and is literally didn't really do that good. So I've got a couple of the big tomatoes here. I've got the Italian San Marzano tomatoes, again only one plant that I've been given. It's only seemed to have few tomatoes, but I did mention to you guys this year, and you know, it's been absolutely atrocious for pollination and stuff like that, so there we are. So nonetheless though, so we have those tomatoes left. I still have a handful of tomatoes from the previous harvest that are in the fridge. As I said, weren't able to keep up with them. So yeah, basically the first thing then, I'm going to put those aside, and I'm going to show you a really easy way of taking the seeds out. It's not really a way, sorry, of doing this, but I want to preserve the San Marzano one, okay? And I want to have the beefsteak. I prefer to grow beefsteak tomatoes, but this year was not really that possible. So let me zoom in on the camera and I'll show you how I do it. So guys, this is my chosen tomatoes. The idea is you're meant to pick a really ripe ones, and ideally the biggest one, to make sure that you preserve the seeds from a strongest vegetable. I've got here 2 pots of water. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, if I'm going to start with this one, I do apologize, it's really awkward with the camera right in front of my face. So open this up. They don't have much of the seeds because they're actually meant to be very good for making Italian like pasta sauces. So I've got a pot of water here, and I'm just going to scrape whatever we have in there. You can see the seeds, right? You will know if you ever looked close enough, but the seeds of tomato are covered in like a little jelly membrane. So that's the idea. We're actually putting that in water because to preserve the tomato seeds, we want that membrane to go away. So let me just do that. The tomatoes are not going to get wasted, don't worry. It's literally a handful of seeds. And get another one. There we go, that's a bit better, look at that. Beautiful looking tomatoes, look at that. Here we go, okay. So that's done. So the idea is, guys, right, after a little while, you put them in here, put the cover on it because the fruit flies will be all over it. Put like a little plastic film over the top and put this on your windowsill. Within 2 to 3 days, it'll start basically becoming moldy, which sounds really, really disgusting. But the idea is we're waiting for the membrane on the top to mold away, and then we rinse it off, and then the seeds are ready for storage. I know it kind of sounds like a disgusting way of doing that, but it is what it is. We need to basically get to that seed by itself, okay? But at the moment, we can't really do a lot with it. Even if you wash it, that jellied stuff will stay on it because it's there to protect the seeds. So that's why we're soaking this in water for a couple of days to be able to remove that coating. So let's have a look at that big one. Sorry, I forgot the name of that tomato, but right, the beef tomato. Let's get opened up. Oh, that is super ripe. Look at that. As you can see, it's literally skin is peeling off. This is how ripe this is. And their taste, the beef tomatoes taste the best. So again, we do the same here. Yes, unfortunately, you do have to mangle your, your food, but it is what it is. It's for next year's harvest. They're bigger seeds. Obviously, it's quite natural with the tomatoes. The bigger the fruit, the bigger the seeds. Look at them, big ones. Okay. So there we are. So that will go undercover as well. So after it stood there for a couple of days, guys, as I said, you'll get obviously the moldy stuff. So put it through the sieve, rinse off the seeds, and then put the seeds in a tissue paper. And you see here, I've done one earlier. This is how I do it. I choose to put them, hold on, let me show you, in here like that. You can see they are already dried. And all I do, I know it's totally ass over tit way, but I write on the packet, hold on, write on the packet, tomato, tiny bush tomato, okay? And then if you're like me, you file this in a pot somewhere, and then I have random pots of seeds in my utility cupboard. Please comment below if you do relate, but it happens a lot, but nonetheless, they store really, really well like that. So that's that. So I'm gonna put them aside and let me turn the camera around. So guys, now for the tomato sauce. I have taken off the green tops of the tomatoes and have washed them. I've also chopped the tomatoes I had left in the fridge. They're also going to be added on to the sauce. And it is literally, guys, it's very, very straightforward. As you know me, I don't like to complicate things, especially when it comes to fresh tomatoes. They taste amazing if you grow them, and the sauce, the difference is just immense. And I don't really need much doing to them because they're so sweet. It's honestly totally amazing. So I've got a big kind of deep tray because when you roast tomatoes, if you ever did this, a lot of liquid comes out. So anyway, I'm going to just spray a little bit of olive oil on there, just because I know it will stick otherwise. So first of all, I'm going to have my beef tomatoes. I haven't peeled them. I don't peel them because I put them through the processor afterwards. Okay, so just cut off any soft bits if there are any. Okay, and then we're going to go the little tomatoes on top. It doesn't really matter which way around you do it. I miss couple. Okay, so you can cut, and I probably will do a slightly bigger ones on halves. You will have them, once they're cooking, they will start popping. So you could, if you really wanted to, you could put like hole in each one. But you can see how soft they are. Look at that. Peel just come off. Anyway, like that. Okay, you can just poke them a little bit with a knife. There's no odds really, just potentially speeds up the process. It kind of feels a bit like a waste. I love tomatoes, but we just can't eat so many. So, because they're roasted, I always roast them with garlic, okay? Easiest thing, take a garlic clove, cut off the top part of garlic. Okay, so the cloves, you expose the cloves, okay, and then just wash that in there. Okay, and same as with another one. Or is that after it's roasted, we can just squish that garlic out, and the skin protects them from burning because they will burn before the tomatoes are actually cooked. So that goes in here. I also have my own garlic powder, which always goes on the top of my sauce. Quite a lot of it. Okay, I've got some sea salt. It's optional, but I just need a little bit. Okay. And just a lovely sprinkle of olive oil on top. Okay. All is in they go in the oven, 200 degrees for about hour to hour and a half. So guys, the tomato sauce or tomato pasta sauce is currently cooking. So whilst it's cooking, it creates extra heat in the oven, extra heat in the kitchen, and it's super hot outside already. Next thing is, guys, we'll really have a look and see if we got a couple of courgettes, I think little ones to pick there. We've got some beans, which we're going to get in a moment. I do apologize that my camera angles keep moving because, well, I have to keep moving the camera depending where I go. I do have a screaming child on the background because, well, it's half term. And it's one of those, guys, is not just as a prepper generally, but you know, we have to work around weather. And obviously tomorrow is meant to be raining. And I feel like I have to cram in all the things that I need to do today, because then it's raining and the beans are going to start going hard, and it's just, everything is kind of works around weather a lot of times, especially when we're talking about gardening. So I do apologize if you find this video to be kind of somewhat a bit rushed, because obviously days are going by, and then obviously it's going to be dinner time soon, and obviously husband come home from work, so I'm going to have to accomplish all of that stuff, and I'm trying to strategically do my doings, if that makes sense. So while something's cooking, something else needs doing. So let's go and pick some courgettes. So guys, this is my courgettes. As you can see, we do have another big one here. So we get this guy, because it's been raining. I'm doing this with one hand. That's a good one, look. Okay, and then we do have another one here. I think that's a little bit tiny. I let it grow for another. I've got some at home anyway, so let me check another plant. I've got that one here. I think it's going to come off. See, the trouble with this plant, ladies, the trouble with this plant is it's kind of branched off here, and this one is actually snapped, so I'm surprised it's still supporting the courgettes, but nonetheless. And I've got this weirdly developed one. Again, it's gonna come off anyway. It's weird shape. The plant is pretty much dying, so courgettes are done, and now let's go and get the fennel. Because I'm going to be running the dehydrator, I'd like to have this as full as possible, and of course few courgettes not going to do this, so fennel needs doing, so let's get it. So guys, you can see, look, my sweet corn, yay! But yes, fennel, every single bit of fennel now has bolted, so you can see the bulbs are no longer exist. So unfortunately, I'm going to pick them all off, sorry. They're coming out. And we're going to be dehydrating the tops for like a dry, keep them like as they're whole, and then we should be dehydrating that as a fennel powder. So I'll get a few of those out. They kind of look so pretty though. It just, I don't know, they kind of sort of break up the, you know, the landscape here, but just pull them out, or not, snap this in this case. Anyway, let me put the camera down, let me get them out, and we'll get proceeding. That's a good bunch of fennel. Look at that. So guys, courgette time. Yes, not a huge amount. You know, this year, like with anything, for some reason, out of the plants that I have, I had like 5 courgette plants, and none of them performing, well, one of them performing okay, but the rest are not really that good. So I have been dehydrating my courgettes already as a part of, so dehydrating my other things. If you've been watching me, I'm really concentrating on my, like a prepping pantry, dry goods whilst they're still growing. Anything is better than nothing, obviously still buying stuff, but nonetheless, anyway, you can see, excuse my phone, it's all happening right now. So if you hear the child screaming because she's playing with the water pistol outside by herself. So anyway, the courgettes, okay, there are many ways you can do that. all depends why you're dehydrating them. If you're dehydrating them to do the powder or to dehydrate them for the slices, then cut them how you want them. It's like with anything, when you dehydrate it, the bigger the pieces, the longer it'll take to dehydrate. I'm making mine into powder, although I probably will keep one jar maybe of the whole little slices just to test out how I can incorporate them into the meals different way. As per the powder, or actually flour, I think they're called the zucchini flour. Cut them up into the pieces. Obviously wash your courgettes and just cut them into the pieces. Because they are like 90% water, when they dehydrate, they become really thin and they'll stick even to the Excalibur silicone tray, not silicone, but you know, the little meshy trays. So if you think about it, don't cut them too thin because you won't be able to peel them off altogether. So do give them sort of, you know, 5 millimeters to 10 millimeters thickness, because when they dehydrate, you want to be able to handle them. But this is as simple as that. You don't need to peel them because there's a lot of goodness in the courgettes or zucchini. All you have to do is just wash them. You don't need to blanch them. They're not the kind of vegetable that's what you do that with. If you're worried about, you know, especially the oversized zucchinis or courgettes, they're going to start having the pips inside, and obviously over the time this stuff starts to become, the middle starts to become quite foamy, like foam as a foam, but it's not a big deal. So don't worry about that. Don't bother cutting this out, because by the time you dehydrate them, it's all just pretty much dehydrates to nothing, and then you just end up powdering them anyway. So this is not a big deal. So dehydrating courgettes and making them into the powder, in the end of the day, really perfect solution for the overgrown courgettes that you will have. Obviously, doing the marrow is not a good idea because you do have a lot of fibers that will develop. But as they are like this, guys, just cut them up as rough as you like. Got one here and a couple actually outside. The little ones, they are started to rot in the ends. I think it's the weather and obviously the rain that we have, and they just, you know, we'll have a bit of sun and then suddenly it rains for like a week, which is not really good. Nothing likes changing temperature so much. So there we are. So one done. And the problem is as well, when it's hot, I've been dehydrating something else. That's why the onions, actually, that's why there's some stuff on here. And that's why the flies, we get so many flies right now. It's ridiculous. They just appeared out of nowhere. So I can't have this stuff sitting here longer than necessary before it walks on it. Just like that. See, no need to complicate that. This is our hose making that sound, if you're wondering, because she's filling up a thingy for a little water pistol. And one thing is that with the courgette flour, guys, the flavor when it's dehydrated and when you just put the finger in and taste it, it's crazy. It's actually really sweet. It's really unbelievably that taste when you get from them when they're fresh and when they're dehydrated and in powder, it's really immense difference. So guys, the courgettes are done, so 2 of them are going to go in there, and next we'll deal with the fennel. In we go. So fennel time, guys. As I keep telling you, I don't like to run my Excalibur half empty, especially when we're using a free solar power. Not say especially, but anyway, it's sunny right now, so we need to make use of it. So fennel, as I've told you, unfortunately, my fennel started so well and then, unfortunately, it's bolted. So bolted means it's gone to flower. So rather than developing a bulb, which the fennel is, that's where you grow this for majority of the time, unless you grow them for seeds, it will develop a bulb. But after we had that spell of, obviously, rainy weather, and then it warmed up and then it's gone really hot, unfortunately, they've bolted. And so this is what happens. They goes to flower and the bulb would never develop. So it's still fennel, it's still really good to have on fish, and I've had this on the barbecue the other day. You use this a bit like a dill. Just take this, put this on the top of your fish on the barbecue, and it will give this that flavor. When you dehydrate fennel, it loses a little bit of its potency because it is quite a delicate flavor. It is what it is. But guys, after all the time and effort, you know, to seed this stuff and trying to grow it, I'm not going to let it go to waste. So I'm going to dehydrate that. So my initial thoughts, right, is to to separate the fennel little leaves or feathers, whatever they are, because they will take barely no time. You can really air dry them as well. And then, like I said, I'm going to chop the stems and do the stems into powder. Okay, so it's just a little bit of process of getting those off. Make sure, of course, when you dehydrate anything, I washed the bottom part of it. I haven't washed the tops because they'll soak in too much water. But yeah, make sure it's pest-free, if you wish. I'm getting so hungry. My tomato pasta sauce is cooking and it smells very good. And I'm smelling fennel, so would I want to eat some pasta or some fish today? We'll see. So, okay guys, so that's been separated. So the little tops are there, or leaves are there. Give or take some dry one and some leafage, some weeds, shall I say. And all I'm going to do is chop them into it's quite tough. It just speeds up the drying process. They are quite woody, but as I said, I don't want to waste their flavour. That's the thing with I think every time you grow something or do something yourself, everything is just that much more precious to when you buy from supermarket. Because you know how much time and effort gone in for you to do that. So guys, there we are. We have the separated stems and obviously we have the tops. Top's gonna sit just air dry for a minute until they shrivel down in size, because you know in Excalibur there is obviously the shelf height issue. It's going to take about 8 to 10 hours potentially to dehydrate the courgettes. That's going to approximately take probably similar, give or take an hour or so. And obviously those guys are going to take no time at all. So in this note guys, those ones are going to be seeing you with them tomorrow after it's all dehydrated, and obviously I show you the process that I do. And I'll see you next with the tomatoes. So guys, the tomatoes are done. I like them to the point when they started to get a little bit brown on the top. Majority of the liquid has evaporated, but we do obviously need to have some of them to make a sauce. So my next point of that is to put them now in the fridge, let them cool guys, and I'll see you tomorrow when we're going to be making them into the sauce. So guys, next day and courgettes are now dehydrated. I've been moving those courgettes towards the end of the dehydrator. Once they started to get a little bit dry, you can move them, just put them towards the back. It just helps to dry them up a bit quicker. Nonetheless guys, they are done when you can hear them snap. Okay, and as you can see here, I've been obviously dehydrating them in stages. I already have a small jar here and what had been done the other day in the bigger jar. But this is an example, guys, of what the courgette powder then will look like. So it is literally very, very simple. Like you pretty much do any fruit powders or vegetable powders, is just blitz them in a processor. It is a messy job because it just creates really, really fine powder, but it is what it is. All I just do, wash them in there. Okay, so first batch. Okay, and let's blitz them. Here we are. And the reason I'm holding my hand there because I have misplaced the little lid over the top to stop it going round. So anyway, that's that. I think it's, I know, it needs a little bit more. It smells really, really sweet, just really good. Obviously, you have to be careful when the blades get a bit hot. There's a potential they could stick a little bit at the bottom, but not a problem. Let's go again. Okay, I think that should do it. Yeah, that's okay. There's a teeny weeny bit like pieces there, guys. You can really blend them through Either means like a coffee grinder, but mine's broken, so it's good enough for me. Teeny weeny bit of like a courgette, like a teeny weeny bit. It's not going to harm when you're doing something. The reason I'm doing this is to be adding onto either pancakes or fritters or bread, so it's honestly not a big of a deal. So, got my jar. Okay, you can see that it really kind of, you know, it's not a lot from big volume for not a lot, but so that's that. I'll probably end up keeping, I think, one of those for my pantry, as I said earlier. I'm going to try and see if I can find a ways of using them in the winter as a whole rather than in a powder. But the earlier batch will get done as well. And you can see, like, making powders, guys, if you are lacking space, it's a very good way of still having your vitamins and all the good stuff from your veggies just in a powdered form. You just have to be a little bit more creative when you cook. Okay, so you can see the powder on the top. Okay, it's good. I want to say it's more flavour than when they are fresh. Just don't breathe that in. Right, okay, so there we are. Happy days. As I said it's messy, didn't I? There we go. Wow, there we are, look. Jar of courgette flour. Again, you can add on some cream of tartar if you wanted to keep it, if it starts to clump up, but I'm going to put like a silica gel in there or something and keep it, basically, yeah, keep it dry. So next thing, guys, because I've got the blender out, my tomato sauce that I made yesterday is now cool. So let me get this out and I'll we'll blitz into the sauce. So, right, guys, this sauce has now, obviously, it's been in the fridge now, so it's totally cold. And I wanted to show you, you know when I said to you about the garlic, roasted garlic, how much easier it is if you roast it pretty much as a whole. So all you got to do, you can see now, I'm squashing it out, and those little garlic cloves are just coming out, which just makes the job a hell of a lot easier, rather than peeling individual cloves. And if you do peel the cloves, as I said, put them on the top, they will end up burning when you cook them, okay? So let's just get that out. A messy job. So tasty. Good. Okay. So next thing, guys, is to blitz that sauce. And it is a little bit of a messy job, purely because I've got this in a really, really wide tray. But, and again, there's a reason why we haven't peeled the tomatoes, because when you're going to put that through the food processor, okay, it's yeah, it's going to blitz the skins. I haven't washed the thing, the processor, because obviously we just done the courgettes in there. So good job I thought about it in advance, otherwise there'd be a bit of a trouble. So let's just get this in there. And don't wear light colors when you do that. Okay, I've got to be doing it in 2 batches, I think. So I've done roughly half. So let's get that blitzed together. That should be enough. Again, you can blitz them, guys, to whatever condition. If you like to have a little bit more bigger chunks, then obviously you don't do this for as much. I do like have a little bit of pieces in there, so that's perfect. So yeah, that's it. So all I'm gonna do is mess. Generally, depending what or how long I'm intending to keep the stuff in the freezer, but the tomato sauces, especially with my own tomatoes, I prefer to consume that very soon. Basically 2 options there. If I'm intending to keep that for a longer time in my freezer, I use my vacuum sealer and a vacuum sealer bags. They just kind of keep the texture of things a little bit better. In this instance, we are going to be eating them probably sooner rather than later. So in this instance, I'm just going to use a food bag. In this instance, the IKEA one. Actually, very good quality food bags. Just put that in there. Sometimes it is also too much hassle, especially if you're busy, to get the vacuum sealer out, cut the bags, you know, do that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's just quick and easier just to open the cupboard, get your bag, put this in there, go again, and move on. Make sure obviously you're trying to get the air out. Okay, so one done for the minute. Let's do a second batch. There we are, done. Right, and the last bag. See, you don't get a huge amount of, but it is honestly the best sauce, guys. The best sauce you ever make. Again, obviously to my taste, but you can add on herbs, spices. You can add on whatever you like. I love those tomatoes by themselves. They're just, with a bit of garlic, it's just super sweet, super nice. So guys, yeah, so with the freezing stuff, okay, as I said, make sure obviously you do close the bag 100% and make sure you eliminate as much air as possible. When I'm trying to freeze stuff like this, right, I'm trying to find a shelf in the freezer where I can lay them down flat, because obviously when you freeze stuff and something falls over, it's a bit awkward shape and then it's difficult to store this in the freezer. If you just lay them out flat, they will literally freeze like they are right now. If you can see that, they'll freeze sort of flat, which is kind of space saving. So that's the thing. So write on it whatever it is, then chuck it in the freezer. I don't need to teach you how to suck it, guys, but that's what I do. So that's that, guys. This was literally, it was as simple as that. And I wanted to share with you that kind of video. It's a totally different video to what I normally do. And a few of you obviously commented before that you kind of like the idea of sort of the vloggy type video, because you get to see me kind of doing the random stuff, not say random stuff, but doing the stuff that I normally do. But you get to see this and obviously pick up maybe some tips along the way, that kind of thing. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. Just to let you know that my fennel that was dehydrated is still drying. So the stems of the fennel, unfortunately, are still quite pliable, and unfortunately they're kind of gone a bit dark in color, so we'll see what happens with them. As are the fennel tops, they kind of dry nicely. It just looks like a really dry dill, so I let them sit in the one place for a bit, just for another probably just day, just to make sure, and then I'll just package that in a jar and they'll be happy days. So anyway, guys, well, I do hope that you enjoy this video. Please let me know down below if you do want to see more sort of videos like this, where I'm, you know, just doing things at home, like prepping things, like cooking, preparing food, that kind of thing. And yeah, otherwise, please like, subscribe if you haven't, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye.